Before we get started, I do want to give a big thank you to Daniel Cervantes, my friend, and the museum director, Dan Nelson. They were very helpful in doing the research of this video. I'll try to put all my sources, and if you're watching on YouTube, in the description of the video. If you're watching on Instagram, just go to the YouTube link. If you're watching over Facebook, I'll try to put it into the Facebook description, or at least a link to my sources. This video is the result of multiple weeks of staying up late at night, reading the sources, trying to get everything correct, everything right, everything straight, so that the story I give you is backed up. Hopefully you enjoy the result of all my work. Have a good day. How did Los Banos get its name? That's a question we get often here at the Milliken Museum, and for pretty good reason. It's a story of how a valley city got its name from mountain pools. There are a few misconceptions, and I'll try to dispel those as we go. But first, let me set the stage.
The year is 1808. What would become the modern state of California is known to the Spanish crown as Alta California. Far flung from power and before the discovery of gold, Alta California is a backwater region. A 28-year-old Franciscan monk arrives to the in-construction San Bautista mission. Father Felipe Arroyo de la Cuesta, born in the small town of Cuba in Burgos, Spain, his journey to California included 4 years in the College of San Fernando, Mexico City. Arroyo de la Cuesta was a linguist and avid scholar. Within 4 years of arriving, he had compiled a compendium on the languages of the Matsun, Olón, Costan, and Yocut peoples. Yocuts were the Native Americans living in the Central Valley, from just south of the Sacramento Delta to the Kern River in the south. On his trips into Yocut territory, Arroyo de la Cuesta would utilize a far lesser-known route than today's Pacheco Pass. Back then, the only route in the area known to the Spanish was Pacheco Pass, a route that required San Bautista padres, such as Father Arroyo, to head northeast and take a long trek to get into the valley.
A young Arroyo de la Cuesta was making a trip into the San Joaquin Valley one day and hoped to find a shortcut directly west of the Diablo Range. We don't know exactly what year or what day, but while he was looking for this shortcut, he followed the Los Banos Creek. As he was following it westwards up the Diablo Range, he discovered pools cut into bedrock. These would last all year round.
Going further up the creek, he crossed over French's Pass and found himself coming straight west back to Mission San Bautista, shaving days off his journey. Afterwards, it became the main route traveled by the mission. French's Pass sits 9 miles south of the Pacheco Pass. The route is steeper and part of an old Native American trail network, cresting at 2,435 feet above sea level. Once through French's Pass, De La Cuesta would descend relatively straight west to the mission, and heading east he would follow the Los Banos Creek's North Fork into the valley.
The pools cut by the creek would last year-round in the upper watershed, up beyond the Los Banos Creek Reservoir. These were not the grassland pools in the valley that some misconceptions state were the Los Banos baths. These were up in the Diablo Range. They made the perfect overnight rest place for the Padre and his traveling companions. He would bathe himself in them to clean up in their crystal clear waters before heading out the next day. As Arroyo de la Cuesta aged, he was stricken with rheumatism, making his joints hurt and movement hard for him. By the time he would die in 1840, he was wheelchair bound. Bathing in the pools would have been a necessity for him. Being head missionary, and for some years San Bautista's only missionary, Arroyo de la Cuesta would become a well-known figure in the area and within the mission system. He would leave the mission in 1833 and later died in 1840 at Santa Ynez at the age of 60. The future Mexican ranchers would have learned about the creek through Arroyo's stories of bathing there, naming them the Los Banos del Padre Arroyo.
When petitioning the Mexican governors for land in the area during the 1840s, the ranchers marked the creek on their maps as El Arroyo de los Banos del Padre Arroyo. It appeared as a boundary on the land grant de Sueños for the Abrura, Santa Rita, and San Luis Gonzaga grants.
The name given to it by the Sueños would last less than a decade. With the American annexation and 1849 gold rush, Americans came in from the east and found the name didn't work as well in English. The parts of the name tying it back to Arroyo were cut off, and the rest anglicized to Los Banos Creek. From there, the name Los Banos came to be known as the general region around the creek's meander into the San Joaquin Valley. The name flowed down from the mountain pool. The name flowed down from the mountain pools with the water.
The name then attached itself to Old Los Banos. The settlement was started by Gustav Kranhagen. After moving 3 times, the final location for his general store is just a small distance to the northwest of where Volta Road intersects the CCID's main canal. He was moved in 1870 by Henry Miller, after Miller fenced in his previous spot on modern-day Turner Island Road. It was on the route of the Butterfield Overland stagecoaches.
Kranhagen sold resources that the region was devoid of, like good construction timber and tools. Quickly, the settlement of Old Los Banos formed around his store, though at the time it was called Kranhagen's store.
Moses Korn and his business partner, Hirschfield, bought the store in 1873. Previously, the mail would have been picked up from Gilroy, but Korn wanted a post office in town and in his store, and successfully petitioned the United States Postal Service for a new post office. In his petition, he uses the name of the nearby creek, Los Banos. The post office granted the petition November 10th, 1873, and made Korn the first postmaster. After Korn's petition, the place officially gained the name Los Banos. In 1880, the first depiction of Old Los Banos is a sketch in the first history of Merced County, with the label Los Banos. With the coming of the railroad in 1889, residents in the Southern Pacific Railroad wanted to move the post office and the town to where the creek itself bisects the railroad tracks, nearby the Badger Flat and H intersection today, but the landowner refused. This sparked a race between Henry Miller, who wanted the town close to his local HQ and Canal Farm, and some residents in Old Los Banos who wanted it to now be just north of the old town, in what would become Volta.
While the residents petitioned the post office to move to Volta, Henry Miller is said to have quietly moved the post office physically to the current site of Los Banos. Residents claim that he, quote, stole our post office, but the Southern Pacific Railroad giant sided with Henry Miller, and in a new depot at Henry Miller's spot, Los Banos. Roughly at this time is when the ever-controversial tilde, or squiggly line above the N in Los Banos, was lost, as both the petition to move the post office to the new town site and an 1889 map of the new town site dropped the tilde. Pictures of the new rail depot show a lack of tilde as well. And with that, the new Los Banos became Los Banos, marking the end of an 80 to 90 year process. That is how our valley city got its name from mountain pools. While we're here, I would like to point out this unique mural we have of Padre Arroyo going to Los Banos del Padre Arroyo. This was created in 1938 by Lucien Labau, and was actually in competition by the Vecchiero mural we also have in the museum to be the mural that would be painted in the post office. As you would walk in, this painting would have been hung up around the post office door to make it look like you were coming in through the center of the painting. This one didn't win the competition to become the mural there, but Milliken was able to obtain this design from, I'm not sure when, but about 1968. And this is the only known depiction of Padre Arroyo himself. As always, if you'd like to stop by and come check out the museum and get a tour, we're open every day, 1 through 4 p.m., except for Mondays, or if it's a special holiday, but you should be fine. Yeah, come on, check it out, 905 East Pacheco Boulevard. We're in the southeast corner of Pacheco Park.